Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to introduce you to Stephanie Woodward. Stephanie Woodward is the founder of Agency to Change. She is the author of a book called The Big Scale Back. I hope we're going to talk about that just a little bit. She is a facilitator. She is an executive coach. In fact, I will say that we were just having a short conversation that Stephanie was coaching me about 5 years ago. Profoundly helpful. So you might talk a little bit about your coaching as well. I mean, we have a pretty open tableau of where we can go here today. But there is one question that I've asked people for many, many years, and I'm going to ask it to you, and that is, what juices you? So what is that fuel that you wake up with in the morning? You don't have to do anything to charge it up. It just completely energizes you. And when it's working in your life, it's not necessarily magic, but it kind of brings out the very best of you. And so it is possible that there are things that happened for you as a youngster that predisposed you towards that being your juice, and maybe not, but we can go anywhere we need to and anywhere we want to, just a free flow of conversation. So let me ask you that question, Stephanie. What juices you?
Oh, I love this question. And sometimes I feel like my juice is a cocktail of, I have to put 10 different ingredients into it because it feels like there's a lot that juices me and put it all in the juicer.
Mhm.
But it's funny too how it's changed over time. So
Oh,
if I go back to even like, believe it or not, 4 or 5 year old Stephanie was like all about productivity and results. Like I had a little to-do list at 5 years old and I was like, Mom, do you want me to help do this? Do you want me to help do this? And I was like just writing that list and putting it
oh,
together. So productivity and results, I think, is where I started. And
wow.
that fueled me and juiced me from a
Yeah.
very, very young age. And I'm
Wow.
not kidding you when I say I had to-do lists as like a
Yeah.
5 year old.
Yeah.
And that kind of carried me through. And if I think even in my early career days, there was so much in our language at Juice would be significance, like
Yeah.
that desire to learn and grow. I've always been hungry for learning. I say yes, and that can be a boundary issue as well. I say yes to all projects and tasks that will help me grow and develop and build out that skill set. And I think that's something, learning and growth, I will take with me until I take my last steps on earth. Learning and growth is really going to go with me. But the productivity and results, that has shifted over the years. So
Hmm.
what used to be a guiding fuel is now just like, hey, I wake up in the morning, I'm going to produce things. I'm going to get some results. How am I channeling that? What am I putting that in service of? So I have found the more experienced I get, the older I get, it's that shift from kind of significance needs more into meaning. And so now I hear myself saying, like, how can I make a difference? How can I contribute to the greater good? How can I contribute to a more just world? All of those pieces are now what's fueling me and getting me to show up in the morning. And I found that, so it really shifts over time.
It really does. When it comes to making a difference and meaning and purpose and cause and the greater good and all of those types of things, um, there are some people who have a monumental sized appetite and ambition towards, I need to change the world in a very big way. So one of the questions that I'm really interested in these days is mattering enough.
Hmm.
And so when everything's all said and done, uh, what will be that indicator to you that, yeah, you know what? I mattered enough. Perhaps you changed the entire world, perhaps you didn't. But in terms of the impact that you want to make, in terms of the difference that you want to bring, and the contribution that is yours to make in this world, do you have a sense, Stephanie, for what is enough for you now?
Ooh, we're getting into the big questions. What is enough for me now? I have, I remember doing as part of coaching school, we all came up with a mission statement, a personal mission statement. And I remember thinking, I'm the catalyst that ignites the flame of transformation. So that was my mission. I am the catalyst that ignites the flame of transformation. And so I think that speaks to this because I see myself as a catalyst. So am I going to change the whole world? No, that actually feels quite overwhelming to me to think that I, Stephanie, can change the world, but I, Stephanie, can serve as a catalyst with you, Brady, or I, Stephanie, can serve as a catalyst to everybody I come in contact with, whether it's clients, whether it's family, whether it's friends,
Mhm.
whoever that is. And in that conversation, in that work that we do together, or in that relationship we have together, can I help you feel safe, okay, to show up and be a mirror to you, help you show up as your best self? And that's a lot of the work that I do. And how can we create safe spaces for one another
Mhm.
to show up fully and authentically? And this might sound a bit Pollyanna, but I truly think if we can get people to unearth their own essence, their own authenticity, that is how you change the world. One person at a time, one dynamic at a time,
Yeah.
and it's a domino effect. And then somebody I talk to ends up moving across the world, and then they're creating a ripple effect in a new place or a new community. And so that's part of what I see, just a lot of people waking up to themselves, and bringing forth their best contribution, whatever that might be.
Yeah. It really feels to me like you do not have a forceful, quantified goal that you are impinging upon the world. I must sell 3 million copies of the big scale back,
Mhm.
or I have not mattered, or if I haven't solved the Gaza Strip issue, then I have not mattered. So it's not like that. And behind me, I have got is that my daughter Rachel is an artist, and one of the things that she does is whenever she engages with a piece of art and the canvas, she is in a dialogue with it.
Mhm.
And when I heard you talking, it's just something went off in my mind that you were saying one person by one person, one dynamic by one dynamic. It's almost like you're in a dialogue with life,
Yes.
and it's not I need to impact a certain number of people, but there is a sense of who is in front of me today and what is that next good thing that life is calling me towards. That there's something about mattering enough in that as opposed to is that the way it
Uh,
feels for you?
You know what? Absolutely. Because I always feel like I'm doing a dance, a push pull dance with the universe, where I can sit, and it's also my relationship with ambition, my relationship with productivity and results has shifted
Yeah.
from that 5-year-old and 10-year-old who would write goals. I must be this. I'm going to this school. Like 13 years old, I was going to be a veterinarian and I was going to go to McMaster. Like I had it all figured out.
Yeah.
And then I didn't do any of those things. It completely changed because life showed up for me, and I was like, I love psychology. I love these
Yeah.
other things that are. And so, now that that's showing up, I'm going to dance with what's showing up here. And now suddenly life is bigger and better than what I originally had planned and written down on paper. And
Mhm.
so I talk about this a bit in the big scale back, the shift from unconscious productivity to conscious productivity. So from going from writing these prescribed goals that I thought I should have, or that we kind of get raised. I certainly was raised to think like strive for something and write that down. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm really thankful that I had that ambition as a kid because
Yeah.
it gets you kind of fueled and going. But what I've learned now is if I show up for life and I follow the clues of the things that light me up, that light others up, uh, I'm gonna receive more than I could think of to write down on paper, if that makes sense. Like the
Right.
goals that I wrote won't be as good as the life that shows up for me by just dancing with it, as long as I show up and do my part along the way. Does that make sense?
Oh, it totally does. Um, I'm thinking about a story by Liz Gilbert, and
Mm.
you may have heard the story. And this is going to go somewhere, but she's in LA. She's at a speaking event, but she's got some free time, so she's walking. And she has a farming background, and so she's walking along, and this guy is up on a ladder, and she knows because her dad, her language was always doing dumbass things up on a ladder. And she was the one who would hold the ladder. So this guy is like painting way up there, and she knows the ladder is not as stable as it should be.
Mm.
So she just quietly, she doesn't say a word, but she's holding the ladder. She stands there for 45 minutes holding the ladder. As soon as he starts to come down, she walks away. He never even knew she was there. But what she said was, "You'll be notified."
Hmm.
So rather than a list of all the things, for the next 5 years that you need, it's like, is life a mystery that we can engage with? Is it a puzzle that we can kind of, oh, look at this coming? And it's like, you'll be notified. And it's a much more gentle, I
Uh-huh.
think, way of making a difference and having impact. It's like, rather than the furrowed brow and the clenching and it's like, what's my purpose? And Liz Gilbert's saying, forget about like this massive pursuit to find your purpose. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, you'll be notified. And so how does that sit for you and the way you look at this?
Yeah, I love that. You'll be notified because there still was someone holding the ladder there. There still was someone climbing the ladder. So this sometimes people will say, "Oh, just are you just waiting around to be notified? You're kind of apathetic in your own life." Not at all. It's not about kind of being lazy and waiting for something to show up.
Right.
We could still be really active participants. And like I said, you'll be notified. There's always we never know when someone's holding that ladder or when we're going to be the one climbing that ladder in that analogy, right?
Yeah.
So I think it is that following what feels alive and your
That's
needs might
right.
guide you to that. That's what's going to fuel you, did it? And follow those clues.
Yeah.
And if you show up for life actively as an active participant, it's going to take you somewhere really interesting.
Yeah. It feels to me like the active part, as I think about her story,
Mm.
there was a sense of curiosity and interest and observation, and she was, walking through life wide-eyed and noticing things. And so I think that we can walk through life not that way, maybe super distracted and frenetic and chasing things and whatever. I mean, we all have experienced that. But but I feel like you're right. It's not. I'm just going to sit on the couch and wait for my notification. It's not it at all. It's what is alive for you, and what are you noticing? And if you have that kind of a mindset, you will be notified.
Yeah. And like, what am I desiring? What am I craving? And so that's where the needs can really help. If I have a desire to work in my sweet spot or challenge myself to do something new, or
Mhm.
I have a desire for some trusted relationships, that opens you up to say, who do I want to have those relationships with? What kind of challenge do I want next? And so you're actively in that conversation, I think, with how life is showing up for you by getting in tune with those needs, with those desires, what it is that you're craving. It's going to
Mhm.
have you show up right place, right time. You'll be more awake to notice it. And that's the thing. I love what you said about not being so distracted. Like, are we walking with our head up, looking at the sky, looking at the trees, rather than kind of down on our phones, or we're going to miss it. You're
Yeah.
going to miss that opportunity to show up for life if we're not paying attention. And so let life surprise you. Let it delight you. Let it mirror back to you what you're bringing in.
Yeah. Hey, Stephanie, the big scale back. Where does it sit for you now?
Mm.
I've written 4 books, and so each one goes through a journey, right?
Yep.
It's the ideation and percolation, and then you go to the hard work of writing it down, and then you launch it, and then after the launch, it's like sometimes, unless you're, certain authors, uh, but it still lives on, and people do pick it up and they
Mhm.
do interact with you and you get some sort of feedback. Where is it for you right now?
Mm. I mean, it will always be my book baby. It's the first book, and that was something I will say. Going back to what we were just talking about, that was on my list at 5 years old. I wanted to write a book, so that was um, that was something I had dreamt about since I was really young. So having that come to fruition, I
Mhm.
actually had such a huge sense of relief because I'm like, I may not write another one, but I've done it, and like not many people finish a book, and so it felt so. The fact that you've written four is just whew, amazing.
Mhm.
Congratulations. I don't know that I'll get to four. I don't even know if I'll get to a second, but where the current one sits now, I just love that it's sitting out there as an offering. Like,
Yeah.
I sometimes wonder who might pick it up next. Like, how is it making its way? It's usually gifted to people.
Okay.
Some people in my network will gift it to someone else, or they'll have, you know, uh, someone new in their career and say, "Hey, this is a bit of a cautionary tale. Have a read."
Mhm.
And so it's always fascinating to me who's reading it at different times. I think I I don't want to say the book mocks me, but the book sits there looking at me all the time to say it's all about relationship with productivity. So if I start to get out of balance with that relationship with productivity and find
Yeah.
myself in over hustle mentality
Yeah.
or ignoring my boundaries, ignoring my needs. It's kind of giggling at me. It's like, oh, Stephanie, it's not mean. So mocking might be the wrong word, but it's kind of like just a gentle little nudge. So I feel like the book is now speaking to me, back to me to say, remember, you wrote down success and balance by your own design. How are you living into that, Stephanie? What are you doing with that now? And so it's my own little reminder to myself is where it sits right now.
It's an entity in the world, and it has a voice, and it has, you have rendered it vocabulary, and it is actively speaking to you. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's I don't know if your books have spoken to you like this, but for me, the lesson I'm sharing whatever little lessons I learned along the way about relationship with work and productivity. And so that never fully leaves you. I'm always at risk of rebounding. And so it just serves as this constant reminder. I don't know if you have anything like that, like a lesson that you feel like you're going to keep learning over and over and over again in life. I feel like the potential to burn out and the potential to overwork is just going to, and what's funny is I think relating this back to what juices me, when it feels like it's in service of purposeful living, suddenly it feels justified to get into overwork and overhustle. Yeah, you know what? This is to serve the greater good. This is to make a difference in the world. So I notice less that I'm getting into those overwork tendencies. And so the pattern is the same, overwork and having to watch out for that balance piece and making sure I'm taking care of my needs. But I can rationalize it differently as I go through life, which is funny.
Right. I'm not sure how much work you do with not-for-profits, but I'll bet you a lot. And oftentimes the meaning card, if you will, or the purpose or the cause or just the inherent value of what we're doing can be overplayed by leaders to ignite people's engagement and their discretionary effort. It's like, well, remember what we're doing. It's all about the orphans, or right?
Yep.
And yeah, I'd like your comment on that, because it feels like we can do that in our own lives as well. I think it's what you're saying, right?
Yeah, it's a powerful calling card. And those needs, I mean, you've written the book on it. They drive us. Those needs drive us. And so a call to whatever fuels us, whatever drives us, it's the two sides of the coin. It can really fuel positive pieces in our life. But if we're not careful, we have to watch out for that shadow side sometimes of, how am I misusing my own needs sometimes is I have to watch out for.
Yeah. One of the things I loved about your book, and I hope that people pick up The Big Scale Back by Stephanie Woodward. It's a fantastic book, and I loved it. And one of the things I really enjoyed about it was the interplay between you and your dad. Your dad was a consultant, a very successful consultant. And I think there was a lot of you that would just I'm going to kind of follow in my dad's footsteps, right? And you had to, I think, really figure out what is your own identity, and versus being kind of force-fitted into that mold. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's this interesting dynamic, father-daughter, which you will know all about as well, especially when you really respect and love your parents. Like I adored my dad. I adore my mom. And so this is going to sound funny, but when you really love and respect them, you kind of want to be them.
Yeah.
And you think everything they say and do is perfect and everything they say and do is right. And that was me, my entire upbringing. So I just thought, wow, like this is what adulting looks like.
Right.
You're a consultant, you do it this way. And I look back, I think my dad was one of the original feminists. He really was just like, the sky's the limit. And go for it.
Yeah.
And there was never any sense that I couldn't go for it, but it was implied I was going to go for it. Like not going for it was not an option.
Yeah. No.
And
exactly.
so I think we battled over the it. And so like my dad passed away when I was 28. So he passed away early on in my career. So I'm making this up, but I think he wanted to be a mentor. to me. And so the only way I think he sought to be a mentor was for me to follow his exact path. I'm not sure he realized he would know how to mentor me if I chose a different path, is the story I make up now. And so he was very much like, you're going to, go to this particular school, go to this particular business school, you're going to end up in business, and then I'll kind of show you the ropes, and then you will have gone for it and you will achieve it. And when I suddenly decided, you know what, Dad, I'm not going to go to business school, I'm going to pursue psychology because this seems really interesting. I mean, you've read the spoiler alert from the book. He didn't talk to me for a year because he was so disappointed, right? And that cut deep. And then we absolutely got our relationship back on track. Absolutely great. And he was very, very proud of where I ended up. But it was, he had a very particular, like you said, that very particular mold of like, this is what success looks like, and a very specific role in mind. And I think got a bit rattled when that definition of success for me started to look different. And he wasn't sure how to mentor on that front.
Yeah. And I'll bet you the cadre of friends around him would have had the same kind of response too, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, they really, I mean, many of them had businesses, and it was like, we're getting our kids ready to take over. We're getting our kids ready to follow in our footsteps. And so in some ways that's so lovely and so wonderful, and what an honor for a parent to say, I would trust you to take over and do this. And in another way, and it's so funny how this always loops back to needs, my need for independence and freedom. I was like, I'm never going to just follow in your footsteps. I'm never just going to, be a mini dad. I got to do it my own way. I've got to forge my own path. I've got, me, like I do have a big drive for autonomy and independence at times. And so I think even that there was a little bit of a rebel in me, and that need to, I don't want you, what's the other term? Not helicopter, like a lawnmower parent. I don't need you mowing the lawn in front of me to make the path, right? I want to make my own path, and that feels really important. So it all comes back to needs, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, at least in my world anyway. So I'm going to ask you the second part of this, and that is that when you are just in your sweet spot, in the zone, state of flow, however you wish to describe that, but there's some human magic happening, and people fully experience you. What is it that they are experiencing? What is the juice that you bring?
I think, and I've heard this from a lot of people, so I've had this kind of, and it feels like it's the greatest compliment I could ever receive, that people feel safe with me. So I create safety for people, and insert at the end, I create safety for people to share their dreams. I create safety for people to share their hardships, their challenges. I create safety for people to transform. I create safety for people to change their mind. So whatever, I create safety so that you can. And and so it's that non-judgmental space, and also that space of just like, I just want to see you be who you are. I just want to see the truest, most authentic expression of you, and whatever that is. And we can throw that out. Authenticity can get thrown out as a buzzword. But when you really get at the heart, when you can create a space, whether it's one-on-one with somebody, and that would be when I'm coaching individuals, it would be when I'm spending time with my 12-year-old nephew or my 7-year-old nephew, when you can create that connection one-on-one to create safety for someone to just say the thing they need to say, or dream the dream they want to dream, or whether you're doing that in a group setting, where it's like, how do we create this safety for this group when I'm facilitating, right? To say, wow, we've never had a conversation like that. I've never felt safe to speak up and be vulnerable like that. But Stephanie, there's something you did that allowed for that and created that safety and space for us to really get real. And that's music to my ears. When we can just get real and like put the costumes aside, take the ego part. We all have an ego. Let's just park it for a minute and have a really honest, truthful conversation. Dialogue for me and safe conversation is where things really do transform and change. And that's where the magic is.
I'm hearing two things, and I'm going to ask you to parse them out for me, because you are a catalyst that ignites the flame of transformation. That's one thing. And on the other side, I'm putting it on the other side for now, just not to contrast, but maybe to compare. And that is, people feel safe to dialogue, safe to be authentic, etc. And I feel like there can be a safety that can lull people to sleep and give them permission to not be real or authentic. And so in your safety creation, it feels to me like there's still a point of ignition. There is still a Stephanie that is a catalyst. And so I'm hearing a bit of yin and yang there, and maybe I'm just overlaying something that's not helpful. But could you speak to?
Not at all. I think you're revealing my secret sauce right here on the podcast. That there is where people will. It's like a velvet boot. Sometimes I'm trying to think of velvet boot. What's another metaphor for like there's the fire. I'll set up that safe environment, but it's not a coddling environment. Very different. Coddling and safety,
Yeah.
very different.
Yeah.
We know that from psychological safety with teams. We're not coddling them. If you create the safety, the real thing can be said. And that real thing, that's the spark. Because once you realize I can say the real thing, nothing bad has happened, or if something bad has happened, someone's with me in that space and we can move through it together. But sometimes I do think those two things go together really well. And sometimes I love what you're saying, because I think sometimes we can think they don't. Oh, safety equals safety equals soft or cuddly, or like I'm not going to push myself. Not at all. Safety just creates that condition where we can do the things that we need to do. And I'm pretty good at nudging and prompting. So I'll create real safety so that I can ask the really deep questions.
Right.
And you can build. I think sometimes if we dive right in to some of those bigger questions, if we don't spend time creating that foundation of safety and we jump in too quickly to bigger things, it's false intimacy, or it's false connection. I really believe in building that real connection. So it can be my catalyst may be a slow burn. It may not be like an instant match.
Right.
It's like, oh, we're gonna start the fire with some kindling. It's gonna do some little cracks, and then eventually we're gonna have a big burn. But we're not putting gasoline on that fire. It's a genuine build of that safety and that intimacy and that connection to get to that point of transformation.
Right.
Great question. I love that question.
One could say that, oh yeah, Stephanie creates safety as a means to an end. And the end is ignition and catalyst and transformation. And it's like, yeah, I got to do the safety stuff because I really got to get into this exciting. I don't hear that. I hear that the safety is not a means to an end. It has instrumentality, of course, because then people can be real and people can be authentic. But you're not doing it just out of a utilitarian drive of let's now get to the real stuff. I think it feels to me like safety has its own merit. It has its own value. It has its own, I think you love safety for what it does for the human being. And I'm totally putting words in your mouth right now. So please respond to that.
I think that's it, because when you create the safety, fear goes away. And fear is what gets in the way of us having really powerful conversations when our nervous systems are jacked up, and we are in our. I mean, we know this from content we facilitate. When your fight, flight, freeze response is activated, you're not going to be thinking clearly. You're not going to be engaging in conversations the way you might. So you clear that, you actually create safety. So perhaps that's a bit utilitarian to say that. But to me, I'm like, no, if we're our fully present selves, if we can get to presence and we can calm that nervous system and we can show up present and mentally relaxed and with as little fear as possible, that's going to allow us to have those really powerful conversations that transform, or have the dialogue that needs to happen, or have the vulnerability to share that aha, to say, you know what? I'm just realizing I play a big role in this conflict that we're having right now, or I just realized that this behavior I'm showing up with in the workplace, geez, it's not contributing really to our dynamic. It creates that space to actually admit that and say it. And so I think it absolutely serves.
You do this in a few different areas. You do it with your book. You do it in facilitation. You do it in coaching. Is there a spot, Stephanie, that you go, if I could just do this in coaching for the rest of my life, I don't care if I ever do another facilitation? Or is it there's this beautiful kind of mixture of things that I need to do in my life in order to sustain the juice and to sustain my energy? What is the beautiful pie for you? What do the pieces look like?
I love the beautiful pie. So I tend to do a lot of one-on-one coaching with senior executives. So CEOs, registrars, presidents, that highest level.
Yeah.
Because by working with that level and developing that self-awareness, it cascades down, and then I'll then work with their teams. And so they've done the work. So I can say with confidence, the senior leader is really doing the work. They are developing themselves deepening and honing their own self-awareness. And so then when we come in and do that teamwork, it's this beautiful cascade. And so I'm a relationship person. And so I'll work with clients for years because there's always something. It's not, I hope it's not because we're facing the same problems over and over again, but as we know, things evolve, business environments evolve. And so the needs are different every time. And so I'm always going to want that beautiful pie of working with that at that very top level to influence leadership, because the top really does matter, and how senior executives show up dictates the culture. It really, really does. As much as we want to think culture can be built bottom up, if it's not at least at the very least reinforced at the top, it doesn't happen. So I'd like that to be able to reach that level. And I just love going in and working with teams and having them shift their interpersonal dynamics and how they work with one another, because it all goes back to needs, as we know, like that team harmony, that healthy culture. Supporting teams to get at that is so important to me. And I say usually what's keeping us up at night, it's not the technical aspects of our job. It's not, it's what's going on between people in the team, in the room.
Oh my goodness.
And once you clear that, you clear a lot of the gunk that's in the system. And then you open the team up to their own transformation. So I think my beautiful pie is always going to be a split between that one-on-one coaching, that facilitation. Like you, I love writing. I would love to get to 4 books. I'm not sure I will, but I will keep writing, and that creates, because I love stretching my thinking. And I think I've really seen you do this as well. Like, how can I give myself an intellectual challenge to unwrap and to unpack, and writing can help me do that. So I think I'll always be writing as well, if for no other reason than to unpack my own thinking and to give myself a bit of an intellectual challenge to work with.
Right. I'm banking on maybe it'll help me have my marbles when I'm 80, which is only 13 years from now. So
no,
that's like maybe only one more book.
I don't believe that. I don't think it's only one more.
The last one took 8 years.
And
it's literally just about to be launched right now. It's just about to go to the printer. But
this is exciting.
8 years.
Some things, but then the next one might take 8 months. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? They've each got their own way of coming into the world.
That's very true. Very true. And as we speak about the world, I'm going to ask you the last question. We can take as long as we want for it, but what is your wish for the world? And I will put a timestamp on this. We're sitting in May of 2025. Just, listeners, maybe a couple of years from now, what was going on in 2025? Well, there were some things going on.
So sure are.
Yeah. What's your wish?
The first word that came into my mind as you asked that was kindness. But I think holding a true, if each and every person could hold a true generosity of spirit for the person standing in front of them in any interaction, in all interactions, and be willing to have their mind changed, be willing to speak their truth and listen to another's truth, be willing to have your mind changed, be willing to stay in dialogue, that right now, the kindness and generosity of spirit with every single person that's in front of you is my wish for the world.
Mm-hmm. That just took a lovely inhale and an exhale for me. Just imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
We're divided along lines of sexuality and age and race and religion and so many different divides, right? Generosity of spirit, the willingness to really step in and engage in beautiful dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
What a world that would be.
Agreed.
Do you think, when I think about this and I look at some of the beautiful young people, there's one downstairs right now, actually, just coming out of university, and we've got actually 2 of them that are working for us, co-op students right now, and just, I'm gobsmacked by what they are bringing and who they are, and I just feel like maybe it could actually happen.
Yep.
Right? Like, how do we ensure that what is so powerful and but yet still so embryonic in one sense, and vulnerable, like right now the magnolias are coming out in Guelph Lake Wild, and they are so beautiful, but they are so vulnerable. One hard frost and right? And so I feel like we've got all these young people coming out like blossoms. And how can we kind of put the blanket over when the frost is coming, so that they bring that passion and they bring that innovative spirit and they bring a different way of seeing the world where, you know what, it's an infinite game, it's not a finite game. And what are your thoughts about that? The hopes of the world for generosity of spirit and and a more generous dialogue with each other. Are you optimistic?
I am. I will always be an optimist. I think the good in humanity wins. I do in the end. Right now for that dialogue, as you were talking about those 20 somethings that are coming in and how to work with that, I think all generations right now, if between generations we can allow our minds to be changed, and we can also share learnings, have those open dialogues, I think that's where we shift things. I think this up and coming generation is like, why the heck did you throw your boundaries? Why did you work 20 hours a day? Why would you do that? And these systems have got to change.
Yeah.
And I think our generation can get very defensive of that and can look at that sometimes in the wrong ways. And so can we allow our minds to be changed in terms of what does work look like? It's changing so rapidly. Work is going to look different, completely different 3 years from now than it looks today. And it looks different than it did 10 years ago. We all know that. So even though they're young, even though they're vulnerable, listen to their value, listen to what they're saying, and allow ourselves to be changed by that, to say, is there another way? Can we allow them to let us step into imagination and imagine a different way of working and imagine a different way to show up in relationship with ambition and productivity and success and all of those things? And can they be able to say, you know what, there is something about this, there are some things that will go through all the changes in the business about, there is something that I can learn from this generation. So can we really step into learning from one another and being open to having our minds change as the world changes, and listen to the values that they're bringing forward, because I think they're already going to be doing a better job taking care of the planet, taking care of so many things than we have. And so where can we open up those lines of communication, and where can we share?
You're in a pivotal place because you are influencing senior leaders, CEOs, and the teams who support them, and bringing that level of safety that allows very robust and for them to step into the chaos and into the tension, and for you to ignite that trend, be the catalyst. So you could be actually one of those people who's creating an entree for this younger generation, to be able to experience perhaps a more meaningful work life than we have, and something that is far more generative to the planet and to the cosmos than what it is that we did.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm with you. I believe there is far more beauty in the world than there is ugliness. I actually believe there's far more joy in the world than there is sorrow. And this is a hard one, but I do believe this. There's far more goodness in the world than there is evil.
Yeah.
And that's important. If one, ascribes to that, it's important to hang on to that yes, we see writ large some of the egregious examples of the ugliness and the sorrow and the evil, but there's this entire fabric of beautiful parents and children and employers, and right, that sometimes we just kind of don't even see because it's wallpaper to us, but it is truly, truly good.
Yeah. And like letting that goodness find its voice, because sometimes evil can speak pretty loudly and can sound
Mm,
pretty loud and pretty forceful.
yeah,
And so how we can all step into our voices, those who do want to show up for that goodness and bring that to the world, how can we step into that courage, step into our voices, and push for that respectful dialogue?
yeah. Well, you did it with the big scale back. You
Mhm.
stepped into your voice, and that was a message that is a necessary message to change the world. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for the work that you do as a coach, as a facilitator, and your business agency to change. And so thank you. And
Thank,
you've definitely made a difference in our world at Juice. We have such an amazing relationship together. So it's been a wicked 5-year ride.
Sure has. Thank you
Hmm.
so much, Brady. This has been just a wonderful conversation. And yes, the relationship with Juice, and all the work, just knowing that I do have those relationships with so many great people in the world doing so many great things. Thank you for being one of those people.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.